I don't really have a snappy intro for you today because today I am recording from Mililani, Hawaii, and you are writing in the tiny house. Hello, 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 and welcome back to the show. Welcome to Writing in the Tiny House. I am your host, Devin Davis, and I am the guy who is usually in a tiny house to show you that that work of fiction that you have bubbling around in your brain is completely possible for you to write, regardless of how busy you think you are. Today, though, I am not in the tiny house. I'm on vacation. I am in the heart of Oahu, and it has been the best thing in the whole world. For my patrons, you will see that this episode was not released last Saturday, which is what I usually do for my patrons. I release the episodes early, and for that, I am absolutely sorry. However, next month, I'm going to make it up to you in other ways. So be sure to stay tuned for that and don't lose hope. Don't give up on me, friends. Sometimes releasing a podcast when you're trying to also pack your clothes and deal with flights and deal with COVID regulations coming into Hawaii, it's pretty crazy. Coming into Hawaii, you need to show proof of vaccination so that when you arrive here, you don't have to quarantine. And being as I'm only going to be here for a week, quarantining in Hawaii for 10 to 14 days was not something I had time for. And so the screening process was different. Everything was different. Luckily, my friend who lives here, who you will hear in future episodes, she walked me through the whole process so that everything was fine. There was no complication at all for me getting here. I'm here. I'm safe. I am absolutely loving my time here. It has been the best thing in the whole world, especially considering these past 2 years. Not only COVID, but other life changes. And yeah, we are grateful for friends and friends who live in Hawaii. So I've been here. It has been great, but let me fill you in on one of my other projects. I brought some work with me here to Hawaii, and I have worked a little bit on my novelette that I have spoken about more than once over these past few episodes. And so I've been working on my novelette, Brigitte, which is the first installment of Tales from Vlador, my collection of short stories or novelettes that I'm going to be releasing on a schedule. And I think this one's going to be okay, guys. So I have Krissy Barton from Little Syllables Editing. I have her on board to be the resident editor for this big project. Releasing things regularly and releasing them on a schedule is going to be something to definitely get used to. I'm excited to do it, and it's fun to have something out in the world for you all to read. And like I've said before, I'm on this podcast and I give all of this advice and I say all of these nice things, but it'll be good to see the results of some of that, to see if I am capable of of doing what I say on the podcast. And maybe we can discuss what I write. Who knows? But this is the first stage of a much larger project. And with Krissy Barton, I'm going to have her website in the description. With Little Syllables Editing, she does a free consultation. She can give you an idea of what you are in for by doing a sample edit of your work. And so she's great. She's wonderful. She's one of my oldest friends. And so feel free to reach out to her for anything that you need editing. And she can help you. And she is affordable and she is fast and she is always in communication with the authors of the stuff that she is editing, which is unique. A lot of people don't. sometimes when you give your work to an editor, it's like throwing your work into a pit and then you don't hear anything for several weeks, especially if it's lengthy, and you just cross your fingers and hope that everything is okay. And then, at the end of 6 weeks or whatever, they spit out your manuscript that they have definitely edited, but to have communication along the way is definitely good. I mean, that's just good business. And so, yay. So be sure to visit her website and reach out to her. So, just with today, this is going to be a shorter episode, and I am not apologizing for that. Sometimes we get to have the short stuff, but I am here to tell you that when it comes to creativity and when it comes to just getting some of those fresh ideas and a new perspective on a work that you already have started or something that you have already done revisions with, a vacation is such a big deal, friends. I'm not saying that every time you write something, you need to go to Hawaii. If you can afford to do that, then absolutely do whatever you want. But to take that time to have that creative break can get the creative juices flowing again. And I mean, to say something that I've heard a lot, it replenishes the well. I have been staying with my friend and her family here in Mililani. It's right in the middle of Oahu. And their backyard is such a pleasant place. And I was back there doing some revising to Brigitte. And it's interesting because sometimes when we write and we revise and we revise and we revise, for me, it's like I run out of words. I run out of things to say, which may shock some of you to hear from me. But I was able to tap back into that well of creativity a little bit and just understand the way that I wanted things to lay out with some of the feedback that I got on this novelette a few weeks ago when I reached out to my alpha readers. And I was able to go through and finish this additional draft. So I'm going to send it back to an alpha reader or two just to make sure that ideas make sense and to make sure I was on the right track with some of the things that we discussed. And then it will be ready to send over to Krissy Barton with Little Syllables editing to get that first round of edits. And then I can clean up the manuscript one more time. I don't expect there to be huge changes. And the fact that this is being released on a schedule suggests that there is not time for really big changes. So I'm expecting that things will be okay, that I will at least be near the mark when it comes to the flow of the story and communication of different things. And then I will lay it out into an ebook, send it back to Krissy Barton, who will do a final proofread. It's all the nitpicky stuff. It's the commas, it's extra words, it's misspellings, it's also formatting errors. And then it will be ready to publish. And I'm going to publish this on Amazon.com. And yeah, if you are looking for a fun, short read with some fantastical elements, be sure to look up Brigitte, which is the first installment of Tales from Vlador. And so with a vacation, being able to step out of the humdrum routine, being able to shake things up, to take some time off, and to see something new and to experience something different. And it doesn't always have to even be something completely different. Like many of the places that we have visited, in fact, I think all of them, this isn't the first time that I have been to Hawaii or have been to Oahu, but being here with someone who lives here, there are certain things to see and do that I didn't know was possible when I came like 12 years ago. And on a much smaller scale, if a full-on vacation isn't something that's possible, going on a drive or finding a new place to visit for the day, or a new part of town that you want to scope out, or a different place for your kids to see. Shaking up the routine is a really easy way to clear out the cobwebs and the dust and whatever else in the gears of our brain to get things rolling again a little bit better. It's like we go into that machine and we lubricate the gears and we let the things flow again. It is so essential to be able to take a break. It is also imperative to take a break in between your revisions. And so if you write something and you go through and clean it up so that it is nice and readable, it is important to take a break of however long makes sense before you revisit that and start ripping it apart. Sometimes we are so hyper-focused on what we are writing and what we want this to be that it can be challenging for us to step back and breathe and then revisit it and see what we need it to be at that time. Sometimes we can get so involved in a project that we lose sight of where we want the project to actually go. And so in between revisions, it's important to take time. And I have done that with both revisions. With both revision periods, I guess would be a more accurate way to describe that. But yeah, this second revision is nearly finished, and I'm going to send it to just a couple more people to read to see if it works. And then we'll send it to the editor. So a lot of fun things are coming up. I'm excited to share this with you. I'm also excited to see more things here in Hawaii. My vacation is not over. I have a couple more things to record. I was on the beach just the other day and I recorded some of the sounds of the ocean. And then the friend that I'm staying with is actually a yoga instructor, and she is going to do a guided meditation that I'm going to include with some of the content that I'll be putting out in October or in November with NaNoWriMo and preparations for NaNoWriMo. You remember October is Preptober, and then we have NaNoWriMo, and I expect to get a lot done that month too. So that's where we are. Vacations are great. Be sure to treat yourself with kindness and to give yourself breaks. It is good to keep yourself on a schedule, but it is smart to work into that schedule times for you to rest and times for your brain to focus on other things. Just because it is possible to exhaust that well. It is possible for that well to dry up. And stepping away allows the waters of creativity, I guess, to spill back into that well and be available to you. So that is it for today. A big thank you to my patrons. If you wish to become a patron to the show, visit the webpage patreon.com/writinginthetinyhouse. Be sure to follow me on social media. My tag on Instagram is @authorDevinDavis, and my tag on Twitter is @authorDevinD. And thank you so much for spending some time with me today. Go out and enjoy your writing. We will see you next time, guys. Bye.